Welcome back. In this video, we will now apply the block settings inside our footer code. Okay, so let's reduce these settings here and let's open the blocks over here. So the blocks, it is an array of objects, and as you can see, we have many objects here. So let's learn how we can access these blocks here and display their settings inside our code. So first of all, let's go just below our code and let's print 1. And if I go back here, we have the 1 printed here. Okay, so let me just reduce like this so that we can see what I'm doing easily. Okay, do it like this. Perfect. Okay, so first of all, how to access the block. So to access the block is very straightforward. We use the section. Okay, and before, when we were accessing the settings, we were using dot settings. Okay, and to access the blocks, we just use dot blocks. Okay, and if I save it, we're not gonna have nothing. Why? Because we did not select the blocks here yet inside our development store, so the blocks is like empty. But before to do that, there is some properties. When you add the dot again, you have access to some properties here: the first property, the last property, and the size property. The first property gives you the first item inside the object blocks. The last property gives you the last object inside the blocks, and the size gives you the number of the block selected. If I choose the size, for example, because we're gonna need it, and if I go back, I go below, you see that we have 0 because so far no block has been selected. So if I click on add block and I choose like randomly, let's say payment, and you see that it's turned to 1 because now we have one size of the list of the block that we do have. So if I go again and I add another block, let's say currency, it turns to 2. Okay, so we're gonna use this way of thinking to create a condition. So if a block is set is different to 0, then we're gonna change this hard-coded value to become dynamic. Okay, I hope you understand the explanation. So I'm gonna cut these sections blocks that size here, and I will go on top because first I want to display the menu dynamically. So let's go back inside the footer, and here we have menu footer. So we have menu 1, we have menu 2, we have menu 3. You know what, let me put everything larger like this so you can see properly. And then we have menu 4, and menu 4 represents the currency that we have here. And as you can see, menu 1, menu 2, menu 3 looks exactly the same. So we can go and reduce and delete menu 3 and menu 2 because it's the same design. Okay, so we can delete it. And on top of that, we're going to create a condition first of all. So we want to check if the blocks exist inside our code. If the blocks exist, then do something. If the block does not exist, then display hard-coded data. Okay, so let's do that first of all. So we're gonna create an if statement. So this if statement, before I add the condition, let me already create an else statement here. Okay, and in the case this condition is not true, then I want to display this hard-coded data. So let me cut this menu 1 and menu 4 and add it just below the else. Okay, so if I save it and I go back here, and as you can see, we have just one help info like menu 1 and just one currency here. So these are hard-coded because the condition is not set yet, because even though we have the block here, remember I did not add any condition yet. Okay, so it is false. This condition is not met, so that's why it's reading this data. But before to continue, I want to have these three displayed on the block here like it was before. So I need to find a way to loop all this, to loop this help info to display hard-coded block like it was before. So what I'm going to do, I'm gonna come just below the else, reduce the menu 1, leave the menu 4 alone, just the menu 1. Okay, so under the else, we're gonna create a for loop, and remember the liquid chorus. So we did something like this because I want it to be like looping 3 times. Okay, and I'm gonna cut this menu 1, and I'm gonna paste it inside the for loop like this. And we don't need to give it a variable here because we're not gonna change any value here. And then we want the for to appear like normally. So if I save it now, and you can see that it's like displaying the hard-coded data like it was earlier. Great. Let's now find a way to display dynamic data for, first of all, the first block, which is the menu. So I'm gonna come back here, and we're gonna now set the condition. So we're gonna say if the section, so we need to access the block, so dot blocks, okay, because we need to know if a block has been selected, remember. So we do that by using the size. So if the size is different than 0, okay, then we want to do something. So if it is different than 0, then we want, let's say, to display, let's say, like a value, let's say true. Okay, so if I come back here, we have true because we selected two blocks here. If I go, I remove 1, it's still true because the blocks is equal to 1 now. If I remove it, now it's 0, and we go back to the hard-coded data. Okay, perfect. So let me add just one so far. Okay, so that we continue. We want to add the footer menu because I want to display first the menu. Okay, so if it is true, then perfect. Now we want to loop because remember the blocks, it is an array of objects, and we have so far created 4 blocks there. So we need to access a specific blocks on certain condition. We're gonna loop now against the section dot blocks, okay, and we're gonna give this for a variable name. We're gonna call it, let's say, navigation, okay, and then we're gonna set now a condition. So to use a condition, we can use either an if statement or either a case statement. So I'm gonna create a case statement, and here is asking us a variable. So remember, we are looping through blocks. So these blocks, each of them contain the name, the type, okay. So what is like more unique when you're looping the blocks, it is the names and the type. So we're gonna loop it against the type because the type is like more unique value. Okay, so we're gonna come back here, we're gonna copy this variable here and paste it here, and if I add the dot, now we have access to the ID, to the settings, Shopify attribute, and the type. We want the type, okay, and we set now the condition. So when, okay, it is equal to the type. So first type that we have here is called footer menu. So let me go and add it here. Okay, so it's going to be a string. It's going to be like this. So when the type is equal to footer menu, then we want to display the footer menu. Let me remove this else for now. Okay, so I'm gonna go and copy this menu 1, and I'm gonna paste it over here, and I'm going to save it. Great, so now we need to access the footer menu. So remember, I told you that we have the menu already made here inside our Shopify admin. So I'm gonna use the handle Okay, I'm going to use the handle to access our menu, our footer menu, and we're going to use this way. So we're gonna use the link list object to access the handle, okay, and then that's links to access the links. All right, so let's go back first of all and print it just before the menu one. Let me just go here and let's say link list dot, okay, let me go check again. Let me just copy, so it's like we have to loop it as well, but let me first just print it before I loop it. Okay, so let me print this one. So the handle is the same, so it's a footer. So okay, it's like replacing that. Okay, and then we have the link drop, link drop, link drop. Perfect, we're in a good shape. Every time you see a data coming with a drop at the end, okay, it just means that you need to loop that things. Okay, so we're gonna create another loop here. Okay, so for loop, and this for loop is going to be against the link list dot footer dot links. So let me just copy that and add it here, and let's give it a name. We're gonna say nav, for example. Okay, or let's say heading, because this is going to be heading or footer heading. Let's say footer heading, and I'm going to copy the menu one like this, cut it and paste it inside our footer like this, and I'm going to save it. And then and as you can see, we're getting the info, the help info 3 times, which is great. And I just need to reference now the title. So if I copy this footer heading here and I come right here, so double curly, and I say footer heading dot title, and I save it. And now as you can see, we have now a dynamic data displaying. So I can remove this link drop, so I can remove this one. Okay, and it is working perfectly. We have now these 3 like appearing without any problem. Okay, and then let's also do for the sub menu here, and as you can see, it is repeating many times. So let's remove just about everything, just leave 1. And inside the div that contain the a tag, we're going to loop again, so a for loop again, and this time is going to be against the footer heading. Okay, and when you use footer heading, you need to access the dot link, because this is where you're gonna find the link for the sub menu, and we're gonna give it a name, footer sub heading, something like this. Okay, and just cut this a tag, add it inside the for loop, and we can now replace this text here, and we can say footer subheading dot title, and also don't forget to add the link. Okay, so it could be footer subheading dot URL. So if I save it, and as you can see, now we have the correct dynamic data. Perfect. Okay, if I go back to my development store, if I delete it, we're gonna have the hard-coded data. If I go and add different blocks, we're gonna have nothing. Okay, but if I go add the footer nav, the one we just made, the footer menu, sorry, and now we have this dynamic data here. So I'm gonna stop right here, and the next we're gonna see how to add the currency data block as well. Thank you.